I'm U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts of Nebraska, and I am back on The Elephant in the Room.
Welcome to The Elephant in the Room. I'm your host, Cyrus Pearson.
I'm your co-host, Sophie Delkier.
And it is getting hot in here, and I'm only talking literally. The AC is off, and it's about 100 degrees outside, and I'm starting to sweat. Thank goodness the podcast is over. Our guest today was U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts, and we structured it just to have a lot of fun with him.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, and so, we're hearing that these are kind of guys you want to get a beer with. This is definitely one of those
I would totally
guys.
have a beer with him.
Yeah, and how do you know he loves Nebraska? Just listen to this podcast. Let's get into it with U.S. Senator Pete Ricketts from the great state of Nebraska. Senator Pete Ricketts from Nebraska, thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure. Great to be back.
Did you ride your Peloton this morning?
I did, as a matter of fact. Yes, I try to ride it every day.
So how
occasionally I
is it-
miss days, but
Do you have a
That's
goal this year?
same one I had last year. Well, okay, so I actually went over my goal last year, but I'm trying to do like 2,000 minutes a month.
Wow.
Wow.
Actually, because I've taken time off, I just caught back up onto that track today.
Wow. And you exceeded last year's goal.
Yes, I did 25,000 minutes last year as opposed to 24,000.
Wow.
So it was like 25,500.
Okay.
But who's counting? Not that I'm obsessive. Not that I'm obsessive about this at all.
Not you.
Not me.
And do you stretch after you do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You have to.
Oh, geez, I'm old. I got to.
I mean, I'm young-ish, and even then, I mean, you can tell after you exercise, if you don't stretch, it's dangerous.
Well, and the other thing, too, is if I don't get a chance to get on my Peloton and I don't stretch, that's when I can really start feeling my hamstrings tighten up.
Totally.
And,
So that's something you consciously do. I don't know if that's built into Peloton or not, or that's something you add to it.
well, they do have classes on stretching, and they actually do recommend you take different classes. Like Dennis Morton, a lot of times, one of the instructors will get off and say, hey, now it's time for a 5-minute stretch, or if you got time, do a 10-minute yoga or something like that.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good.
All right,
I
well,
don't do the yoga part, but
Yeah.
I'm a guy.
Sophie used to teach yoga. She can give some lessons. We can work in some policy stuff here. Let's talk about how we're going to do this podcast. But I think one of the great things about this podcast is we get to know people outside of their title a little bit, even though U.S. Senator is a pretty great title to have. So why don't we take some time to talk about your connection to Nebraska through a bunch of state-centric events that have come to our attention.
Okay.
So we're going to name a bunch of stuff. I had no idea this much stuff actually went on in Nebraska.
A lot of stuff goes on in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's
It is
crazy.
a fun place, yeah.
And you tell us, let's just start off with the Oregon Trail Days.
Yes,
What
that's
is
coming
that?
up immediately. So obviously, the Oregon Trail ran through Nebraska, and in Scottsbluff every year they do a whole celebration around it, and a part of it is a parade, and so it's a parade right down downtown Scottsbluff, and it's always a ton of fun. And I love parades. I love going to parades.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Why?
But most U.S. senators are not thrilled about them. I mean, I think they're a lot of fun for a lot of people, but sometimes it can be a lot.
Well, I will say that when I was governor, after I got elected the first time,
Right.
we still went the summer after I got elected. We still went to parades, and my team's like, "Why are we going to parades?" I'm like, "Because I like them. I like it. They're a lot of fun." So,
What is it? Just the energy?
It's a little slice of Americana,
Right.
I mean, like you got all sorts of kids come out, and they're all excited to
Yeah.
see the fire trucks and get candy thrown at them and stuff like that. And it's a way small towns celebrate. It's a way we build community.
Totally.
And that's one of the things that we need more of in our country is more community. So I just think parades are a lot of fun, and they're usually around. Like I was just in Weeping Water for the Limestone Days parade. One of my favorite parades is, of course, they're my children. I love all of them. But like we have in Unid Bill, we have the Groundhog Days parade. It's like 3 blocks long and ends in the bar.
I was going to say, we've heard that's your favorite.
It's a really good one because, and it's in February, so
Yeah.
oftentimes it's super cold. So being
So you're
short
having
and
your
ending
own-
in a bar is key.
Yeah, I love that.
You're having your own Groundhog Day there.
Yeah. We have Unadilla Billy. So it used to be Unadilla Bill.
Okay.
Actually, it goes back, I think, when Governor Kay Orr left the state, was her lieutenant governor or somebody else, took the opportunity to name Unadilla the groundhog capital of Nebraska. And they had
Oh.
Unadilla Bill, which was a stuffed groundhog. And so he would ride on the front of a car going through the parade. And now, after 30-odd years, even a stuffed groundhog wears out. So they got a new one, Unadilla Billy, only it's a she this time, so we have a
Still stuffed, not a real
Still
one.
stuffed. Still stuffed.
Okay.
Yeah, so it makes it care maintenance is a little bit easier. But anyway, yeah, so it's a lot of fun. And then actually, you go back to the bar and they do a king and queen kind of thing, and you get elected to be king or queen based upon fundraising for certain causes that impact the town, like raising money for the fire department or something like that. So again, it seems like half the town's there. So it really is, again, it's just a great example of like community, like small town. I mean, usually just a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Can you trace that back to when you were a kid and you saw a parade? Or I know I would go, my dad would drag me down to the mall and you'd see these parades and everybody being there and the military guys would be so tall and there's so much action. When did this start for you?
When I started running for office and thought it was really fun. I don't really have a memory of going to a lot of parades as a kid.
Really?
But just, we started doing them for the campaign. I'm like, hey, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, maybe you didn't have that experience so much when you were a kid, so now you're living it. Yeah, you're living it as an adult. Yeah.
So actually, here's a quick funny story. So back when I ran for Senate in 2006, the first time, my kids came on a lot of our things, but they were in the parade throwing candy. So
fun.
Shortly after I lost that election in 2006, so this is the summer of 2007, we threw our kids in the car and drove around Nebraska. I said to my wife, hey, I traveled all over the state, but I was really working. I didn't have time to really enjoy stuff. Let's take our family vacation this year in Nebraska. Best vacation we ever took.
Oh.
We drove around. We went to like the Kool-Aid Museum and Fort Kearney and, just did all sorts of wilderness, which is like where the old Oregon Trail ruts are and stuff like that. So we just went to a rodeo and alliance. We went to the Fur Trade Museum and just like all sorts of fun stuff. Fort Robinson, took a stagecoach ride. Anyway, in one of those stops, we were at the Oregon Trail Days Parade. And our congressman, who's still our congressman now, Adrian Smith, saw me and said, hey, Pete, would you and your family like to walk in the parade? And I turned to my kids, who at that point had melting ice cream, right, because it was a hot summer day. And I'm like, hey, kids, you want to go walk in the parade? And they're like, no, Daddy, we want candy thrown at us now.
We want the opposite.
We were tired of throwing the candy. We want candy thrown at us for a change.
Oh, that's cute.
And it's hard candy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tootsie Rolls are not hard candy.
Oh, okay.
So
depends on how hard you throw them.
Well, okay, so we do have to coach everybody.
Right.
No overhand throws.
Yep.
And in
Set
some
the
parades, there's so many rules now. Rules.
Yeah.
So in
regulations.
some parades, you have to hand out the candy, which is really not practical.
Wow. Yeah.
What they're trying to do is avoid little kids running into the street and getting run over, which is a good thing. So but we do have to, so we have to educate people that you got to toss it underhand. We don't want anybody to get a black eye, which has happened in parades, not for my people, but has happened in parades. And then the other key thing that I always stress with my team is we cannot run out of candy.
Oh, yeah.
We are not reaching the end of the parade and having some poor kids that are standing with this plastic bag and not having any candy put into it. Like that is not happening on our watch.
Totally.
So that is like the key driver. Don't run out of candy.
I love those priorities.
I love your stance, Senator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
me
agree with you
too.
on that. You brought up the Kool-Aid Days, or what is this? You have a Kool-Aid
the Kool-Aid Museum. Well, Kool-Aid was invented in Nebraska. It's actually
Did
not the
not know
Kool-Aid
that.
Museum.
I had no idea.
Yeah, Kool-Aid was invented in Nebraska. Oh, yeah, I thought
Love
everybody knew
Kool-Aid.
that.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, so Hastings, Nebraska. It's not really the Kool-Aid parade or Kool-Aid Museum. We just call it that because they've got a whole room dedicated to Kool-Aid.
Oh, cool.
So, but Hastings also has the Kool-Aid Days, and they have a parade for that as well. So, again, talking about parades, a little slice of Americana, and so they just have they have like a big area where like in a school parking lot or whatever, they set up all sorts of different booths. You get different flavors of Kool-Aid. There's games, kind of like a little carnival kind of stuff going on. So
That is so much fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun.
So you can toss out Kool-Aid packets.
We actually don't do that.
Paper cuts, Sophie. Paper cuts.
Sorry.
So we gotta balance off like the things. Remember, we can't run out by the end of the parade.
That's true.
So we have to balance that off with portability and cost.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Related to that, possibly, Sophie wasn't sure, and I wasn't sure what to tell her. The Applejack Festival?
Oh yeah, that's where I was born, Nebraska City. It's just so apples are a big part of we got lots of orchards down there, and so it's about just promoting Nebraska City. We have a parade, of course, and then they've got the orchards will have different things. You can go buy apple pies or anything made out of apple you can possibly think of, cider, jam, whatever. So so it's just kind of a fun way for Nebraska City to promote itself, and again, fun parade and all that sort of stuff.
So apples are the
goes
main...
past my grandpa's old carpenter shop. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So apples are the main Nebraska fruit. Florida has oranges, Michigan has cherries.
Yeah, I would say apples are probably it. We don't have apples all across the state. It's mostly in that southeast corner of Nebraska.
Okay.
Is our sugar beets fruit? because that's probably a bigger export.
Root vegetable,
root vegetable.
but they do sound sweet.
They are sweet.
Yeah. So that's another big produce.
So we
in
make
Nebraska.
sugar in western Nebraska. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right.
So actually, Nebraska is very geographically diverse. So we start at about 1,000 foot at elevation on the eastern side of the state and go up to about 5,500 feet in elevation on the western side of the state. And for every 30 miles you go west, you lose an inch of rain. So it go from the southeastern part, don't have a lot of irrigation because we get lots of rain. But when you get out to the central parts of the state and going west, you have irrigation because by the time you get to Scotts Bluff, you're talking about 13 inches of rain annually versus 30 inches of rain in southeast Nebraska.
Wow.
So very diverse state.
Yeah.
First off, can you believe all the things going on in Nebraska and that he's been to all these?
Yeah, it's
Super
amazing.
impressive.
Oh, we didn't even talk about some of the things like Swedish Days parades
let's get to
Czech
it.
Days. Oh my gosh, Czech Days is always a ton of
Oh
fun.
my gosh.
So Czech Days is in Wilbur, Nebraska. So Nebraska is the state with the highest percentage of people who claim Czech ancestry.
Wow, I had no idea.
And our National Guard relationship, because National Guards have relationships with foreign militaries. The Czech Republic is one of our relationships. So
that is so cool.
Very appropriate, right? Yep. So and the cool thing about the Wilbur Czech Days parade is that they have the parade both on Saturday and Sunday. Most parades are only on one day, so if you can't go that time, you miss out entirely. But with the flexibility of both Saturday and Sunday, it makes it easy for me and my schedule to be able to plan at least one day to be in Wilbur. And the nice thing about it as well is being an elected official, at least historically, I've been toward the front of the parade. And so get through the parade and go straight to the beer garden. And usually I'm not the first person there.
Always ends in a bar or beer garden.
It doesn't always have to end up.
It can.
It's a cherry on top.
Cyrus, on a hot day, you want to get a nice Pilsner.
I'm not saying it's the
Urquell
wrong.
to
I'm
go
right
off.
there with you.
Not
I'm
at
right there
all.
with you.
Now, I do claim Czech ancestry.
Oh, you do? Awesome.
do?
Yeah, and I had
You should move to
family-
Nebraska, Cyrus.
Well, I had family in there. They actually moved from Nebraska to
All right.
D.C., but we had a family reunion at Fort Robinson.
Oh, isn't that a great
Now,
place?
can you tell me about Fort Robinson? Because it was so long ago, and I just don't
Yeah,
know that
it's one of the old Army forts. In fact, actually, this is where Crazy Horse was murdered.
Really?
Yeah. So, again, he was taken into custody, and there was exactly how it all happened is a source of debate. But while he was in custody there at the fort, he was shot and killed. And so, obviously, that's a huge part of Nebraska history. He was, one of the folks that was leading, the tribes in fighting the U.S. Army. So, big deal. But it was also, it's an Army base there. Actually, here's kind of a little funny thing. When we stayed there, this is back in 2007, we were staying in the barracks.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
you can
wow.
imagine if you had an Army base dating back to like the 1870s. Do you think they had air conditioning? No. It was one of those days, it was like 100 degrees outside.
No.
So we get in, and we're like, it's hot.
Yeah.
And there's no air conditioning. They've got like 5 fans blowing all over the place.
Original windows too, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the windows have been replaced. I don't know. But
Well,
it
because
was
my
hot.
house was built in 1890, and we have all original windows, and so
They're not exactly sealed. Yeah.
our AC bill is out of control.
Yeah.
But-
Well, anyway, so the kids, like I said, the twins were 7, Eleanor was 5. They were complaining because it was so hot. I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys just need to remember that the Pioneer kids, they didn't even have fans, and they slept through this kind of heat. Aren't you as tough as the Pioneer kids? The kids fell asleep in an instant because, of course, we've been doing all the fun
Hilarious.
things at Fort Robb all day, right? Like a stagecoach ride. And then the wife and I were left there going, oh, it's so hot. We can't fall asleep. I think they put air conditioning units in now. But it's I think it's just a beautiful part of our state, the northwest
Yeah.
corner. Also, I'm trying to think some of the other fun facts they had. I think they had a German prisoner of war camp around there during World War II.
Oh, wow.
They actually trained the equestrian team. I think trained for the Olympics there.
First
in
place I rode a
1938.
horse,
Yeah.
actually, in my life was actually in Nebraska at Fort Robinson.
Yeah, horseback rides. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So there are all sorts of cool stuff around there.
Now, you talk about the diversity, and we'll get back to, I think we've got time for some more of these. When people drive through, we kind of talked about last time, you're not going to see a lot of this stuff because they built the highway to kind of get through there.
Yeah, so that's the thing is Interstate 80 was built through the Platte River Valley, which is a valley and therefore flat. And they built it there for a reason because building roads through flat places is the best place to do it. And obviously it's very agriculturally important for us because that's where a lot of the great farmland is. But if you get outside the Platte River Valley, Nebraska is actually not flat. Like in the north central and western part, you've got the sand hills, which are literally sand dunes covered with grass, and that's just rolling hills. It's absolutely gorgeous. You get up into the Pine Ridge in the northwest part of the state, kind of where by Fort Robinson, broadly speaking. You get in there, or the Wildcat Hills. Parts of it, especially in northwest Nebraska, look like, you're getting into Colorado and Wyoming. So it looks like you're getting into Colorado and Wyoming. And in the southwestern part of the state, you've got a lot of canyons as well. So it's really not flat after you get outside the Platte River Valley, but that's where most people drive. So they think, oh, Nebraska's flat.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't know that. I'm quite surprised, especially since it's, smack in the center of the United States. I kind of just assumed, okay, it's the Great Plains. It's just flat all over.
Yeah, take a look at the states it's connected to. And
Right,
you'll see
exactly.
They have a reputation for being more...
Well, and you can think about we're in the border as well. We mentioned Colorado and Wyoming, but also South Dakota in the Badlands.
Right.
So that's borders right on our state. So that gets into it as well.
Oh, interesting.
Let's go back to, I'm claiming a lot because I'm Irish as well. St. Patrick's Day in Nebraska's Irish
a big
capital?
deal. Absolutely. So St. Patrick's Day, because the Irish came to build our railroads, right? They started in Omaha. That's why, actually, Omaha is very Catholic because a lot of Irish who came there. And so the Omaha St. Patrick's Day Parade is a huge deal. Like, I would say we're like rival Chicago St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah. Somebody in Chicago can argue if they want, but I'm still claiming it. And then we've got O'Neill, Nebraska, which is another great St. Patrick's Day Parade. Obviously, O'Neill's got Irish claims there too. And so usually we try to hit both those parades, and they do them on usually different Saturdays around the holiday. Ooh. So I can usually hit both. And that's always a ton of fun. I got a friend up there who we grill out steaks ahead of time if it's warm enough. Because, again, it's St. Patrick's Day March. It can be kind of cold.
Yeah.
We've had blizzards where the snow is blowing sideways.
Oh, my gosh.
Just, again, fun. And then they have Irish dancers and all sorts of other stuff going on out there. So
Irish beer, yeah.
So there are bars there as well, as a matter of fact. So they typically, they take, they've got a horse. They've got a new horse now. The old horse, they paint the horse green and take him inside the bars.
Okay.
A real horse.
A real horse. Now, I will say the new horse is a little bit less comfortable around people.
Yeah,
so they actually haven't taken that horse inside the bar yet. They got to get him a little bit more used to the people. There's also a story about how they used to have a buffalo or a bison would bring into the bar. And what they would do is, because those are actually dangerous animals, they would drug it. But apparently, now this is the story, so take it with a grain of salt. The story is they had this bison next to the bar, and so they had it sedated so that it wouldn't hurt anybody. Probably still a bad idea, but it's St. Patrick's Day.
And so that it would be relaxed. And
it would be relaxed.
Yeah.
But then people started giving it beer, which is like, what do doctors tell you to do if you're taking a
don't mix with alcohol.
Yeah, don't mix, exactly. Yeah. So apparently the bison passed out, slumped against the bar, and moved it like 3 feet. This whole big wood bar just moved the whole thing 3 feet.
Oh my God!
I don't know if that's true, but it's a good story.
It is a good story.
I was told never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, we say that in my family a lot. Yeah.
I feel like you try to sell the fact you want to grab a beer with these guys, but you are taking it to a whole new level. This is incredible. Let's talk about something Sophie mentioned she might like. I'm not stereotyping. Junk stock. What is that?
Oh yeah.
In Waterloo, vintage antique items.
Oh yeah, just we got lots of great antique stores all throughout the state. So
I
fun
love
stuff
antiques.
To do. Yeah. Oh, it's a whole thing to go antiquing and go on these little road trips to go to different.
So it's big. There's a lot of them.
Oh yeah. Just
Just
about any place you go, you're going to find. In most small towns, you find something somewhere where somebody's doing that. Yeah.
New bucket list.
What is the Nebraska State Fair like then? If everybody has these little events and it comes together.
Well, again, we have a parade at the Nebraska State Fair.
Okay.
So the Nebraska State Fair is really a ton of fun, and one of the, it's like all state fairs, is a great opportunity for young people to show off what they've been doing all throughout the year with regard to whether it's arts and crafts or raising animals or whatever it would be. Just a great place for those young people to come together. Of course, there's all sorts of vendors that are there. All sorts of great food is there. They have rides. They have concerts. So it really is tractor pulls. Just fun stuff. This Nebraska State Fair is a ton of fun. Usually I try to do some events around it, mostly tied to agriculture, doing things like that.
Sure.
So,
and when is that usually in the year?
in August. So we're talking about late
so
August,
nice weather.
Hot, yeah. Can be hot.
Yeah. But no snowstorms.
No snowstorms. No snowstorms.
Yeah. Okay.
No snowstorms.
Okay.
And then let's talk maybe Burwell Rodeo.
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite events all year long is like the last Saturday in July is the Burwell Rodeo. Now, Burwell Rodeo is known as Nebraska's big rodeo. It used to be the biggest rodeo, but when other rodeos got bigger, they had to say Nebraska's big rodeo. But it's in middle of Nebraska, just another slice of Americana. Just great people. They actually had a windstorm, and the community came together to rebuild the grandstands. I mean, it's just a great part of our country. They let me ride out to the grand entry, so I get to ride a horse out.
I was going to say, do you choose your animal? Is it a buffalo?
No, it's not a buffalo. I will say it. They always try to find like the most docile horse they can find, just in case.
Now, when you say big, what do you mean? Like lots of events, lots of people?
Of course, there's lots of events. They have a parade for that too.
Okay.
So, but lots of events, and like literally, I mean, I don't know exactly how big Burwell is, but it's a small town, and you'll get thousands of people come out.
Wow.
7,000-8,000 people to watch this event. And, they have all the different rodeo events, whether it's barrel riding or bull riding or,
so cool.
calf roping, anything like that. It is really a ton of fun and just a great event. And then they shoot fireworks off afterwards. So
I'm assuming that's also in the summer.
Yes, that's it. Last Saturday in July.
Oh,
have you
fun.
been to a rodeo yet?
I was just going to say, I have not, and I'm
timing is
dying to
perfect.
go
okay.
to one.
The timing is perfect.
Okay, last week in July, go check your calendar, come out.
I think we're available. Well,
So if we commit to
why
it,
not? Why not?
Because it's fun. It's not
Yeah.
fun.
we'll discuss this after the show.
No, I actually will look at our travel plans. I mean,
Please
that
do.
sounds so fun.
Yeah, because so it is like I said, it's a little slice of Americana. And, like
Yeah.
everybody's so patriotic and just so loves our country. It's just a great place to remind why we have such a great country.
So when you go out there on the horse, do you also have an American flag with you?
Actually, somebody else carries that.
Good.
Usually, a young lady is riding around with that. She rides on first with that. So,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So-
Oh, okay. All right. I'm looking at Google Flights.
Yeah. So I usually have one hand on my brains, and then it rains, and then I gotta have another hand to wave my hat.
Yeah, great. I love it.
Road trip, Sophie. It has been awesome just talking to you about all the things that they have in Nebraska.
We didn't even get to the duck races.
Well, let's talk duck races then.
Local duck races. So apparently, this started with again a bar. Two guys in a bar arguing whose duck was faster.
Okay.
So they went outside to race their ducks, and this has now turned into a whole big deal. Again, it's in February, so sometimes it's going to be kind of cold, so people dress warmly. But and of course, the ducks got their own natural insulation. Mm-hmm. So you can bring your own duck, or you can rent a duck and enter in the races. Absolutely. You can rent your own duck.
That's
I think it costs
amazing.
$20. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
I'm coming out in February too. That is hilarious.
That's usually the weekend before the Groundhog Day parade.
Okay. Oh, so I got to stay a whole week?
Yeah, I know. I guess the whole week in February.
I've never lived there myself, but I'm homesick for Nebraska.
Amazing. So much fun.
We got all sorts of fun stuff.
Do you just hate coming to D.C. because you have to leave all that?
I would rather do my job from Nebraska, yes, but obviously the job is in D.C.
Right.
So
And you're big into not remote working.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think you need to be in person. I would say one of the biggest challenges we have in general in Washington is that in the past, before cheap airfares, people stayed around here on the weekends, so you got a chance to get to know your colleagues, whether Republicans or Democrats. They were in dance recitals together. Kids were in dance recitals or in baseball games. And, everybody pretty much leaves on the weekends now, which, again, allows you to chime back in your state to be able to get connected to your constituents, which is a good thing.
Right.
But the downside of that is that you don't have as much time to get to know your colleagues. And so that's one of the things that, my freshman class, for example, has been taking the opportunity to get together every month for dinner, or almost every month. We've tried, right? We've tried to get together every month. So just so we can maintain those relationships and develop those relationships. And I think
that's with the spouses too, I think,
and with
right?
the spouses invited
which
too,
is
absolutely.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think this is an underrated point. I mean, when you have your kids in the same school and you have to interact with each other socially outside of work, I mean, it really could do a lot to foster bipartisanship or at least getting along.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Or
even
just
just
good
within your own
ideas.
conference, even with your own
Yeah,
conference too,
right.
right? Everybody's really busy. I mean, that's part of the problem is everybody's
Right.
really busy.
Yeah. And it's helpful just to sit down with other people and, someone has an idea about, a resolution to, I know that you're working on some other things with EV mandates. I mean, and I think just sitting down at a table and having off the cuff conversations is a good way of.
Right. I mean, you think about like one of the things, and this is why I think remote work is so harmful and why our federal government needs to really start curbing this, is that a lot of your idea generation is done through informal communication. That the classic water cooler talk, right?
Right.
That's really, I mean, if you think about what happened, decades ago, we used to have these high cubicles, in offices, and what are they doing? They eventually started bringing those down so people could talk across walls, and now they're getting rid of the cubicles entirely, just have big open space and you share desks. But fostering that kind of informal communication where you bounce ideas off each other, that's a real thing. That's really how humans actually, that's part of their ideation process. And we miss out on that if we don't have that chance just to, without the pressure of trying to get something done or just sitting together talking and bouncing off ideas.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's fit in one more thing. Sophie brought it up. Let's talk about EV mandates. Where are you?
EV mandates bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very simply put.
EV mandates bad. First of all, I'm working with Dan Sullivan. And we have a couple of CRAs, Commercial Review Acts, to block the implementation of the EPA's mandates for EVs. I'm doing the one on cars and light trucks. He's doing heavy trucks. And it's really bad on so many different levels. Primarily how it's going to hurt our low-income families. Your average low-income family spends $12,000 on a car. A EV costs $63,000, right? Or now I guess down to $53,000, but still super expensive, right? But the knock-on effects of that are that if you're trying to push everybody to get an EV, right now people aren't buying. I got a friend who's a car dealer. He's like, "Hey, we'll sell anything that the consumer wants," but to get to 2/3 of all cars and trucks being sold by 2032 to be EVs, you're going to have faster adoption, and people aren't doing it. Like I think EV adoption went from like 7.8% to 8.1 or 8.2% this year. From last year to this year, to get to 2/3, you're going to need to be double digits at least, wouldn't you think? Yeah. So people aren't buying, and it's totally distorting our entire supply chain on this. Plus, there's so many things people don't think about. So not only are we going to make it harder on low-income families to get a car, which, by the way, is a ticket to out of poverty, right? In a lot of places, including Nebraska, that's how you get to your job.
Yeah,
right.
So now you're going to say to low-income families, you can't have a job, and therefore you have to stay in poverty. True in our rural areas as well, right? People drive lots of distance. And in Nebraska, we talked about how sometimes it gets hot, but it also gets cold. Both are bad for batteries.
Right.
When the temperature drops below 20 degrees, your battery loses 40% of its charge. So you're reducing the range of it. Well, if I'm driving 60 miles to work, which is not terribly uncommon, I got to have that range, or the car becomes impractical. And I can't certainly, if I'm hauling a truckload of cattle on a 90-some-plus degree day, I can't pull over for 2 hours to charge it, right? That's bad for the animals. So there's so many things that are just wrong about what they're trying to do to jam this on us when we have other solutions out there. In Japan, for example, they're using hydrogen cars. Liquid hydrogen. They already got it. It's a simple change to make to an internal combustion engine, to change it from gasoline to diesel to make it burn hydrogen.
That's fascinating.
Just an example of innovation. Or in Nebraska, we've got biofuels.
I was going to say, is that something that we could do in America? Because the other part of EVs is it's so reliant on China.
Very reliant on China. China processes 60 to 80% of the rare earth elements and critical minerals we need to be able to make EVs. Right now, we actually have some of those here in our country, but our president won't let us go mine them. Yeah. So the only place to go get them is China. Now we are seeing investments in places like Australia to be able to get that stuff, but it's not there yet. And so again, you two. Well, Cyrus has got a little gray in his beard. He probably doesn't remember the Arab oil embargo, but I do. Yeah. And let me tell you, having to go to gas stations are closed on Sunday. Only go to the gas station if your license plate ended in an odd number. There were certain days on an even number, other days.
Talk about Orwellian.
Yeah, well, that's how they had to ration gas.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of the oil. Why would we do that with China, our biggest adversary in the world? Yeah. The only existential threat to our country. Why would we make us dependent? So there's so many bad things about this EV mandate that are making it not practical. And in America, we don't solve our problems so much as we innovate our ways out of them.
I love that.
Let American innovation solve this problem. We all want to reduce our impact on the government, reduce our impact on the environment. So let American innovation tackle this problem, right? Like I said, we've got biofuels in Nebraska. We actually have a distribution system for that already, right? They're called gas stations. Yeah. Right? So they already work versus, charging stations, which in Nebraska, again, if you're in Bloomfield or Alliance or Valentine, you can be 45 minutes from the nearest charging station. Again, not very practical in our roads. We've got, of our 147 communities that are designated cities in Nebraska, 99 do not have charging stations. So again, there's just a lot. And here's another thing you don't think about. The batteries are really heavy, right? So these cars are really heavy. None of our our highway barriers that are designed to prevent accidents can stand up to these cars.
I didn't even think about
They
that.
roll right through them because they're so heavy.
Yeah, it's so dangerous.
It's so dangerous. And by the way, the batteries are really dangerous to change. So you're putting those mechanics at risk. But what I'm thinking about in an accident, right? If you're spilling all those dangerous chemicals all over the place, you're putting our first responders
it's a bomb.
at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just, and again, not that there are ways to solve a lot of these problems. But when you try to jam something so fast, you don't give time for those adjustments to be made. And this is where, again, we should allow American innovation to solve these problems and not try to have a big government top-down, I know best kind of solution coming from Joe Biden.
Perfect.
Well said.
I'm going to end it unless you got something else, which I feel like we could go on for a while.
I'm just going to end it by saying I'm going to go look at flights to go to Nebraska.
Burwell Rodeo, man. Tell you, it's happening.
I'm so excited.
Senator, we talked Dungeons and Dragons last time. I think I had even more fun listening to you talk about Nebraska today. Thanks so much for coming back on The Elephant in the Room.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, a big shout out to Ian for helping us come up with all these events. Like I said during the show, I had no idea that there were this many things going on in Nebraska.
Yeah, and I don't think, this is really insider knowledge. I don't think someone can just Google, hey, what are all the festivals, in Nebraska? So, yeah, shout out to Ian.
Yeah, and it did make me homesick. I said for Nebraska, which I'd never lived in, but in Montana you have a lot of small towns.
Do you?
And the small towns have their identities. Yeah, and that's not something you get on the East Coast necessarily, or when you go to the West Coast. So you kind of have to get to the center of the country, and there's a special American uniqueness about this. And I think that's kind of what is captured through all these things.
I can't wait to go to the rodeo.
Please do. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, you can like or subscribe or follow this podcast, and then it will pop up on your phone and let you know that, hey, we have a new one out. So please do that. The Elephant in the Room is brought to you under the direction of U.S. Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. They have a great rodeo out there.
Yeah, I've got to get to that one too.
Executive producer is Arjun Modi. Show producer is Carly Rapp. Our technical director, excuse me, boy, my tongue is just about failing me. I'm glad we're done. Our technical director is Rashad Smith. Thanks for listening. And until next time, this has been The Elephant in the Room.